All right, y'all. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you that don't know me, I'm John Cavalier. I own Cavalier House Books, and I thank you all for coming out to Coffee with the Candidates with us tonight, where we have Mr. Scooter Keene, who's, of course, running for re-election as Parish Council,
Yep.
District Number 3. So the way we've been doing these is we just have a short little Q&A between us, and then we turn you over to the folks so that you can chat some more.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So to start it off with, background info, biography, that sort of thing. Just tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I've been married to my wife, Kay, for 34 years. We grew up in Holden together and started dating when she was 13. We got 3 kids, Olivia, Reese, and Patrick. Great kids. It's been fantastic being parents to these kids. We own Quick and Handy Dry Cleaners, and it's been wonderful. We work together every day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
And we don't fight.
Yeah.
So it's been that's a blessing right there.
You gotta mention your in-laws, your daughter-in-law.
Oh, and I have a son-in-law, Bo Byers, married to my daughter Olivia. My son Reese is married to Catherine, and then my son Patrick is in Southeastern, and he also works at the cleaners on the weekends.
Yeah.
In the evening. So, what else you want to know about us?
No, well, I work with my wife every day also. So, yeah.
You're a lucky man.
I'm very lucky, as are you.
Yeah.
So, first question, of course, you're running for re-election.
Mm-hmm.
So, back when you were first running, why did you want to run for parish council, and how has that been strengthened, or has it changed at all over the course of
Absolutely been strengthened. We started thinking about me running for council probably 8 years ago, maybe a little longer. And Cindy Whale was our council person. She was doing a great job. And I said, well, one day I need to give back. This parish has been so good to me and my family and our business over time that I need to give back some way. We're always stuck in that cleaners. We don't get out much from there. And I said, being a councilman, maybe I can give back and help the parish be better than it's always been. It's been a great place. It's been really good to us. So we started talking about it. My wife goes, you need to pray about it. So I did. No answer. We want to answer now.
Yeah.
Men want answers. God, answer me now. Well, he didn't. Well, and then last 5 years ago, before we ran, she said, well, pray about it, and maybe it'll come, you'll get an answer. Well, I decided we didn't have time. The economy had tanked. Kids were doing, running back and forth. My youngest was going through scouting and becoming an Eagle Scout, and it just was like, baby, I just don't think I have time. Well, I'm standing in the back of the cleaners, and a gentleman who is now our judge here in town comes in the back door, and he goes, I heard you were going to run. We need you. And I said, what? Jerry Denton.
Mm-hmm.
He comes and sees me in plain clothes. He wasn't doing his judge or marshal thing. He was just plain clothes. He goes, you need to read this book. It'll teach you what you need to know. We need you in District 3. I said, okay. So I walked in front. I said, baby, Jerry Denton just came in and told me they needed me. Made me feel good. She goes, is that a sign? I said, oh, maybe I'm getting an answer. She goes, well, we'll see. So a little while later, they said, a lady wants to see you at the counter. So I go up to the front. Lady I had never seen, customer, but I hadn't seen her. She goes, I heard you were thinking about running. We really need you to run in District 3. And she lived in the city, and I said, but you live in the city? She goes, but your district borders all the way around the city. So you are going to work in conjunction with the officials in the city and help things to be better. So I put my name in the hat, and I'll keep doing it until people tell me they don't want me. I mean, we've had some really hard times the last 4 years. We went through 2 floods our first year, which pushed us way back. We didn't have an agenda, because really, what is your agenda to help the parish? It's not an agenda. It's, well, if something needs to be done, it's the right thing to do, you do it. If it's hard, it's just part of the work.
Right.
We've battled back. We've become stronger. The parish has. The federal money is finally starting to roll through for drainage and different things like that. got a long ways to go. I think
Sure.
the next 4 years will be very hard work because we're looking at changing building codes to protect the people that are already here. And, you know, it's going to be hard to tell people you have to build like this or you don't build,
Right.
you know. But it's important that the people that are here now, the 135,000 or so people, that we're protecting them from future flooding events. Now, all of this flooding and elevations and dirt fill ordinances and all this, that wouldn't even been in the conversation had 2016 never happened.
Right.
We would have just been our merry way. Downtown would be downtown. Business would still be up, which it's not. Since the flood, business went way down. But we're making it. We've been very blessed that we didn't flood in downtown Denham in
Yeah.
16.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You and me both.
We
Absolutely.
on this ridge. Some people call it luck. I don't call it luck.
I wasn't thinking about that when we opened.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. And my house didn't flood.
Yeah.
But where I had been about to build my house in Plantation got 6 feet of water in it.
Yeah.
And I didn't build there. So for whatever reason, God's been looking out for me and my family. And I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, there are a lot of questions that come to mind with just from that answer, but I would be a terrible bookseller if I didn't ask you what was the book Jerry didn't recommend for you.
It was How to Win Local Elections.
Oh, okay.
It's a little small book,
Yeah.
little pamphlet book almost. And the funny part about it, I'm like, Jerry, really? I got to read a book? So we got the book, and my wife was my treasurer, my daughter my campaign manager. She's
Yeah.
an attorney and her husband, both attorneys. And she goes, yeah, I'll do it. But you're going to do exactly what we tell you. Okay, no problem. Yeah, right. Like I'm going to do exactly like they tell me. But so we got the book, and I opened it, and the first little page was the only part for me.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else was for the campaign manager. So I read the first, and I handed it to her. I said, here, tell me what to do. And she did, and it worked out well. Go see people. Go have meet and greets. Do things like this.
Right.
Let people know your heart, your compassion for making things better instead of being part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that. I really strive every day to just make Livingston Parish better for all of us to be here.
Right. Well, you touched on it a minute ago, and of course, it is probably the most prominent topic on everybody's minds. And I know on your push card, it's big at the top: drainage, drainage, drainage.
Yes, sir.
How do you approach drainage from a standpoint of trying to also protect development, but also to protect current residents and future residents? It's a big puzzle. How do you start?
Well, the biggest misconception is that as a councilman, we can fix drainage,
Sure.
and we cannot. We make the laws.
Yeah.
Okay, but we also appoint people to the boards of the drainage districts, things like that. So, and I didn't even know we had to do all that when I got elected. They said, you got 8 appointments. Okay, all right. Nobody told me that little bit. As far as drainage, I work very well with Mr. Sam DiGirolamo with DPW, and all of his employees are fantastic. If you call in something, they go, well, we'll go check it out. And they go, hey, you're right. That really needs, work. So they go and line it up, and we get hundreds of work orders a month across the parish. I usually send them 50, 60, 70, and they go, man, you're about to work me to death. And Mr. Sam will go, but that's why we're here, to do the work for the people. They're paying the taxes. We need to do the work. As far as regional type drainage from the drainage districts, I'll go to drainage meetings. I'll call the chairman if there's something that really needs to be addressed that homeowners have been asking for. As soon as I got elected, a group of people came to me off of Dunn Road, and they said, we're getting water in 3 houses in our subdivision. Is there anything you can do? We've been trying to get them to do something, and it's a slippery slope. The drainage had never been placed in where it should have been when they built the subdivisions between them. And I went to the drainage district, and I said, guys, y'all have got to fix this. We flooded 5 times in Holden when I was coming up in our house, Mom's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew how devastating it was. I didn't in 16, thank God, but I knew the heartache and how hard it is to overcome that. And so I kept working with them. I said, guys, y'all have got to fix this drainage. And they said, well, a lot of people are going to have to move their fences out of the way and different things. And I said, guys, it's a fence. If you can make people move their fences back out of drainage servitude, put the drainage in, it keeps water out of 3 houses, so be it. They'll be mad at me. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And now they don't flood. One of them gets a little water. They got it in that 8-inch rain. They got about 1.5 inches. So it cost them a bunch of money, but there's still some work to be done around their home, and they know that, and it's going to get fixed. There's plenty more like that have happened well before Leighton Ricks and his administration took over. Since they've been in, they've tightened things up very tight. We've made major improvements to the building code on, let's say before, you had to design a subdivision for a 10-year rain event. Well, that happens weekly, not every 10 years.
It could happen a couple times in a week.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we changed it to a 25-year rain event, and you had to look up and downstream for a 100-year rain event.
Right.
That's still not enough. And we see this. Gary Talbot and I tried to put a fill dirt ordinance in place, because if you keep filling the floodplain with dirt mounds, yeah, 1 or 2 won't make the water level rise any, but thousands over 10 years. They had places that flooded in 83 right here in town, and because of the growth, building up property, building up dirt mounds, the 16 flood put several feet at the same time that the level was the same as 83.
Sure.
And they had 1 inch in 83, and they had several feet. So that had to be because of development and allowing you fill the floodplain. We don't want to stop development. You have to have people. You know, people have to bring business in, like we get in Cuban Cross and Bass Pro and all this stuff. They follow the people. They're not just going to go build out there and go, well, let's hope we get enough business.
Right.
So you can't stop development. You have to make commercial development retain its water, and there's going to be some major changes to the. Well, we're going to try and make major changes. You know, there's 9 of us, and you have to vote. You got to get 5 votes to pass anything.
Right.
Fill mitigation, floodplain management, zero net fill. These are dirty words in the construction business right now, because we haven't had to do it. But to protect the future of Livingston Parish and to lessen the floods, we have to make developments retain their water on site until the main drains start going down, and then their water can get into the creeks and canals.
Sure.
It's going to be hard, real hard.
Yeah.
I think if we have, that's probably the drainage and the building code is probably going to be the hardest thing for us to do, because we don't want to have to tell people you can't build here. We had a lady came spoke to them with the master plan review. The first lady goes, absolutely, dirt fill makes a difference, dirt mounds, and absolutely you're going to get to a point where you tell people you can't build there, period. That's hard.
Right.
You know, you own the property, and so some of the things we were looking at is making people build on pier and beam, and I'm sure y'all all heard about that.
Yeah.
You may not want a pier and beam house, but if you're building in a floodplain and you can't increase the level on your neighbors, well, it's a no-brainer. That's how you'd have to build.
Right.
Have some beautiful houses that they were done after the flood. They don't look like fishing camps. They look like real nice houses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Southern style houses in a floodplain, that's how they should be built. You know?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is going to be tough. Is that about drainage?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think if we're going to get a few new members on the council this year.
Sure.
No matter what, because we had a couple that didn't run. I think the stuff we have to do in the next 4 years, as far as with the funding from FEMA and NRCS money, all of these things are going to take experience to make sure they're implemented properly. And I just think it's the wrong time to change your council people.
Sure.
That's just my opinion.
All right. Well, you touched on the Master Plan Review Committee. Of course, your representative for the Master Plan Review Committee is in the audience.
Yeah.
So kind of give us a bit of a history of the Master Plan and how it went to the committee, and then also what is, what's kind of building up to it now.
Well, what started us talking about the Master Plan again is that they had a development coming up just next to subdivision on Walker South.
Mm-hmm.
And the people in the subdivision said, oh, wait, y'all can't let them build apartments here. And we said, well, there's no zoning in the parish. You know, and they were screaming mad. They said, well, you have a master plan that's already adopted. I said, no, by resolution. It is not law. Resolution is non-binding. It's kind of like a wish. It's kind of like we wish you to do this. You know, like when we do resolutions for whatever reason, it's just a wish. It's not law. So Tracy Girlinghouse took it on him. He said, look, we need to make sure and implement this plan, but it's going to have to be updated because it's from 2013. The parish has changed a lot in the past 6 years.
Yeah.
You know, the past 15 years it's majorly changed, but the Envision Livingston took into account future development, future roads. Speaking of the Juban North extension that we haven't gotten yet, that comes out of Juban and goes up to Burgess, that's going to happen. And it was on the map in the Envision Livingston. But anyhow, we started looking at it and said, well, let's put a review committee in place, let them look at it, and see if we need to upgrade maps, update maps, whatever changes would be necessary to make it current. And I think what ended up happening is that some of the councilmen were using it to send things that they didn't want to address to the review committee to not have to talk about it.
Sure.
Instead of just doing the hard things, do the work. You're going to make people mad sometimes.
Yeah.
The next 2 weeks later, you're going to make the other people mad. You're going to make half mad 1 2 weeks, and 2 weeks later the other half. But you can't even look at that. You just have to do your job. They did a lot of good study, and they've been listening to a few people. Well, in the paper, it came out, oh, we're killing the master plan review committee. Well, that was not entirely true. What we wanted to do is go ahead and adopt the master plan as it was written, make it law, and then send to the master plan review now zoning, drainage, future roads, the priorities that the council thinks one at a time. It's a major task just to look at this thing and go, oh, well, let's just review it all. And then add sewage into it because it got pushed down there instead of being taken care of by the council. That's the only one that can take care of it. We have to do it. So I think the first thing that they're going to address is zoning. Tracy's adamant that we need to do it now. I think he's right.
Sure.
It's also going to be hard.
Yeah.
If we had done it 10 years ago, it would just be the norm. You'd go to planning and they'd go, no, that don't go there. You know, you can't build that gravel pit next to that subdivision. Like the first thing we had to deal with was a gravel pit next to the subdivision. The dorm up here at Premier Concrete, I think it's a great idea for somebody to build something for their workers to stay in and be able to clean up and rest. Should it go right next to a subdivision? Should it be on an industrial site? We're going to find that out now because it's going back to planning so that planning can look at it. Since there's no zoning, they can't say you can't build it there. But make sure it's built right, the people know about it, and that's all we ever asked on that. The next thing that I have asked Mark Harrell for this, I want to have a parish-wide master drainage plan done of the entire parish. So right now we have drainage districts. This will bring us right into the next thing you got on here, the unfunded drainage districts.
I know you're making this really easy because you keep going.
I'm doing it in steps. I skipped zoning.
You got my notes. So
yeah. So
you're doing a great job.
Wait for him to stop.
Oh, I'm not gonna. Yeah, you're gonna have to tell me when to quit because I get going and I ramble, and you're giving me coffee. So there's a block grant available right now, $1.2 billion in block grants, no match. Okay, so I asked Mark. I said, Mark, can we possibly use that money to develop a master plan for drainage for the entire parish? Because we have District 2, District 1, and District 5 that are funded drainage districts. But we have 6 and 7 that aren't. And I think they've asked them twice to fund them, and they keep telling them, no, we're not going to fund that. Well, how do you fix drainage if you fix a little over here, a little over there, a little up there, but it all runs through the same area?
Right.
So 2 gets it to 1, 1 gets it through 5, and through 6 down here, and then it gets to the river. But if it gets to the end of District 1 and there's nobody working District 6, how can it possibly get done right? So that would be my one of my wish list things, is to get a parish-wide master plan for drainage. And I know it's
Yeah.
a Shane Mack. Shane Mack is very adamant about wanting it too.
Right.
And it seemed the other night that we were kind of mad at each other. We're not. We're all on the same page that we need to fix drainage. I just don't think funding the unfunded districts out of monies that we're already paying is the right way of doing things.
Mhm.
Everybody has to pay their fair share. And I couldn't care less if all you raise is $20 a year in one area. That's $20 more than zero.
Yeah.
So if everybody's paying the same half cent, and we do a master drainage plan, and it shows that a lot of work has to be done on the lower end first, you would think the south end needs to be drained first, so, and then work your way up, right? Okay. Then we can look at grants and different things. See, like in Gravity 3, Gravity 1 and Gravity 2, they go after grant funding. Gravity 1's very adamant about going after grant money because these major projects can't be done with just our tax dollars that we collect locally. It's too big.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they do that, but without a funded drainage district, how's an unfunded district without a functioning board going to apply for grants? They can't. You have to have a board
Right.
and some funding to go after grant money.
Yeah.
How you going to have seed money to pay for the match if there's, this block grant money is 100%, but most of it is a 20 or 25% match.
Not to mention just all the paperwork. that
And
goes
all the
along with
paperwork.
it.
I was up at Gravity 2 a couple weeks ago, and those guys are really skeptical about going after grant funding because, oh man, after Gustav, we got shut down because we cleaned things that we always cleaned, and they said, no, you couldn't clean that because you didn't get a permit. Well, me and Gary Talbot went and talked to him and said, look, you need to get a grant writer to come in here and do the work and do the filings for you. And if the FEMA money or block grant or NRCS money is available and you get it, you do the work like it says, and they're going to pay it. It's no question. Oh, we don't want to get caught holding the bill for this, and it'll bankrupt us. Well, you won't when you do it right.
Yeah.
They have they'll give you a guideline, say do it exactly like this. Well, if you do it exactly like that, it's going to be funded, and then it'll drain the water through 2 into 1, and then we'll fund 6, get the water to the river. One of the major things people have been screaming about is, oh my goodness, when are they going to dredge the Amite River? Well, they could dredge the entire Amite River, and when you get to the mouth, and the water's only 1.5 foot, 2 foot deep all the way across the lake, the water's not going to get out, so it's still going to back up.
Mm-hmm.
Years and years ago, they had a channel cut all the way through North Pass, down the South Pass, and the water, when they used to dig shells in Lake Maurepas, well, but it messes up the ecosystem to dredge.
Sure.
Okay, but how are you going to eliminate the flooding if you don't open that channel and get that water pass there? We got funding to open the mouths of the river, and we have. They built a little island out there to make up for the wetlands loss or whatever. But that kind of thing is big dollar. We can't pay for it out of our half-cent sales. In one, if you live in District 1, we pay a half-cent sales tax and a property tax.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that look to the people that are paying that if we want to take that money and use it in an unfunded district? That just won't fly. Look,
Right.
they all shaking no. They don't work. I get it. And the people on the east side definitely spend money over in in West Livingston Parish.
Yeah.
How much, you don't know, but when you go to the movies or your big dollar things, you go on clothes shopping, a lot of them do come on this side. So if you take some of that funding that comes in the general fund and use it with the funding that they vote in, then it works out well, because we're not going to balk at sending money to help everybody.
Right.
Because that's how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be community. I got blasted the other day on Facebook because I told a gentleman after the meeting, he goes, well, that water over in Holden, y'all need to help Holden drain because it affects Dome Springs. And I said, no. I said, you go look at your map. I said, there's a ridge just the other side of Walker running north to south that has 2 distinct watersheds. Amite River watershed, Tickfaw River. They do not tie into each other. And the creeks and streams all run towards Amite River from say what 449 area up in there, and then on the other side of it, all runs the other way.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's two distinct things. Work it by watershed. What Gravity One has done, they've been doing watershed studies for individual tributaries, and they have them all done. They have a GIS of the entire Gravity One's watershed, and they were working on one up here by Fisher, between there and what's the name of the road up there, where I went and met all them people? Wildwood, back by Acadiana, and all that drains. It actually comes through my front yard up on Clinton Island, above Kane Market, through my front yard, loops around, comes down Wildwood, and passes right there in front of Acadiana. I had no idea that the water from my house passed in front of Acadiana underneath the road and goes to into Beaver Creek and goes to the river.
Yeah.
You know, but I find out a lot when you go to these things.
Yeah.
Councilmen aren't supposed to do that. We're not supposed to know. You know, right?
Stop.
But it's been amazing, and I think that's those unfunded drainage districts. It's not a thorn in anybody's side. We just have to figure out how to do it. Do we try to pass a half-cent parish-wide sales tax, and the people on this side voted in, and the other one said no, and it passes? I don't think that's the way you should do things. Don't force feed taxes to somebody that they need to take it on their own and go, look, we know we can't contribute a whole lot because they don't have businesses. There's no Walmarts. There's no Home Depots and Tractor Supplies over there.
Rural,
yeah, so all of those that they do have are in Tangipahoa Hall Parish. And a lot of them shop there, and they should. I mean, they're right there. Why would you drive 20 miles the other way? You can't do it. But until they get those businesses voted in, it's not going to cost you any more than you're paying if you're shopping over here now. But if you buy something over there, your half cent will count.
Yeah.
You know, in the parish.
Right.
Then if they're funded, we can work it as a master plan for the entire drainage of the entire parish.
Well, you touched kind of on funding. My next question kind of leads into that. Specifically in the state legislature, there's been some efforts to try to centralize sales tax collection. So as it is right now, the school board, we collect and remit to the school board for parish and municipalities within the parish. What they're trying to do is try to centralize that so that it's all done through the state, whether through the Department of Revenue or whatever. Now, it would certainly streamline a lot of things in theory, but it could also potentially hamper some things.
Yeah.
And so, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we've talked about it a little bit. Just it's not in our wheelhouse to decide that.
Sure.
But I think if you got someone that's collecting the money in the parish, it gets here quicker. Let's say if we had to send it all to one central location, Baton Rouge, Alexander, wherever they would pick, and then they have to figure out where it goes. Are there any mistakes in sending it back? Did you send it to the wrong place? Did you calculate it wrong? If it's all right here and we keep it in Livingston Parish, I just think it'd be a simpler process.
Sure.
And who's to say how much the state would want to take as a cut for doing that for us? You don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I'm sure they'd have to tell us before they would just do it. But they put on the 1 cent sales tax without asking us.
Yeah.
John Bell did. And then he said, I'm going to roll it back. Well, he rolled it back a little bit,
Yeah.
but 0.55. And, so you can't always, I don't want to say trust. We put things up to a vote in Livingston Parish.
Right.
Whenever we have a big thing like that, taxes, fees, anything like that, I believe that the people need to speak every time, no matter what it would be. Whereas our legislature, we send them over there to do it for us, okay? And then they go, well, the only way we're going to get out of the red is to do this. And then all of a sudden we got a $500 million surplus.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, wait a minute, okay, we'll give it back. Well, who do we give it to? So I don't think that's the right idea. I would need to know more about it because we haven't talked about it but a little bit just in passing. I think I forget who I talked to about it. It might have been out here at Springfest in April.
Yeah.
I talked to a couple of people and they asked me about it and I'm like, they'll ask about the saltwater intrusion and I'm like, well, I heard about it and I read a little bit about it, but I don't know enough information.
Sure.
to know whether we're sinking and salt water is going to make it where we can't have drinkable water.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so.
Okay. Well, you kind of touched on the idea of the people having their say, and giving it back to the people to make sure that they always have their say in, especially taxable issues.
Mm-hmm.
How do you balance? How do you balance the role of trying to execute the will of the people with also making tough decisions that might be necessary for long-term, protection for drainage, for instance?
Well, that's why I was saying it's going to be really tough because, but if you listen to the will of the people right now, they don't want any more building, period, in Livingston Parish. But we had to build for you to be here.
Right.
You know, we had to build businesses for you to shop at and work at. So just, I've had people say, oh, you need a moratorium on building. And I'm like, okay, so you own 500 acres and you want to build something, and I'm going to tell you no. Well, no, if I had 500 acres, you couldn't tell me no. And I'm like, well, wait, not in my backyard kind of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but if I want it, it's okay. And so that's going to be really tough. The people elected us, just like I was talking about the legislators,
Mm-hmm.
to handle this. I don't believe that on a local level every single thing should go to the voters, but when it's a tax or a
Sure.
fee that you're going to have to pay forever,
Mm-hmm.
then they should decide. On building codes and things like that, we talk about it in public. We talk about it in the ordinance committee meetings, and then it goes to the full council. People can come listen. They can watch it on TV or wherever they want to see it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can call you and go, hey, look, I don't like this. Well, I had somebody with the junk car ordinance was one of them, and that only came about because of the flood. We wouldn't have been talking about it if it wasn't for the flood, but these were abandoned vehicles
Right.
since the flood, not your 57 Chevy that you got sitting next to your garage that one day you saying, I'm going to fix it up. You know, a flooded car full of mold or full of snakes and full of rats, the windows all busted out. Should you be able to just park that right next to someone else's house?
Yeah.
It's a tough decision, but I had 10 people that came out there and they said, they were all from where we're from. They were from Holden side of the parish. And they said, we don't want you telling us anything. I said, well, I get it. But see, we're much more denser over here. The density of people has gotten rough in some places.
Right.
It's tight. And so you have to put protections on things like that to protect people's property values, their lives. You know, I mean, if it's a health and safety issue, we have to just make the decision and go with it. We don't
Right.
get to play around with it and hope that people make the right decision
Yeah.
to save your life or your kids not getting trapped in something, or So,
Right.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything we talked about this week that I haven't hit on? Huh? Well, I know, but I don't want to miss. I mean, just hush. Well, he said I had an hour and a half.
Well, I got one more question for you, and it comes from our Cavalier House Books job application, and so.
Well, you're gonna throw. I told you I only read books that have pictures in them.
So, give me two books that have most influenced your life: one fiction and one nonfiction.
God, that's tough. Have you ever seen me read a book? Oh, that book we read together. That really did it. I think it was a Dave Ramsey book.
Oh, sure.
And since '07, the economy tanked.
Yeah.
Business got bad. Different things happened. So we changed our entire lives. We read this book, and it was a Total Money Makeover.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have credit cards anymore, which is tough because you go in there and say, hey, I want to buy this. Well, there ain't no money in that debit account. Sorry, But that would be one of the major ones that changed us recently, like within the past 2 or 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
Because we're not piling debt on anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody does, and don't do it. These young people, if they would right out of the gate, not have to buy a new house, 2 new brand new cars, like everyone thinks you have to do.
Yeah.
They'd be much better off with an old car and a nice little house.
Yeah.
Than they don't owe. And the other one's going to sound, I guess that one is being Catholic, people think that we don't read the Bible. Whereas every single time we go to Mass, we read the Bible. And over a year, we read the entire Bible. 3 years. We read the entire Bible. If you go every time, you get from all different sections. And I thought I was a Christian until, 15, 18 years ago? And I went through RCIA. I was Baptist, but my wife and my kids were Catholic. I was missing so much. I go, no, y'all go ahead and do that. That ain't, that's. And so I would say that influenced me and my thinking about giving back.
Yeah.
I was hitting on that earlier about giving back. Well, we wouldn't own anything or have anything if it wasn't for the people of Livingston Parish.
Right.
And so, and I didn't used to think like that. I was like, I'm doing the work. They owe me to pay me because I'm doing the work. Now it's a privilege. The people that are here, their lives have changed since 16. Our lives have changed greatly even before that in the past 10, 12, 15 years. Going to church together, sitting all on one pew because of those readings. And she said I'm not very humble, so we sitting in Mass. So I'm going to tell the story because I go, well, you know what? They said they wasn't going to fix that. And I talked to them so many times that they went and got it done. And she goes, humble. I'm like, well, I didn't do it. I just talked to enough people till they got tired of hearing from Scooter. They go, you better go fix that. He ain't going to shut up about this, And it could be just a little thing, that somebody's having an issue with. But we were sitting in Mass the other day, and I'm sitting there, and I'm so happy because we made it to Mass, and everything's good. And they doing the readings, and I'm looking over there at Kay, and she's looking at me like this. I said, what? Nothing. So I'm listening, and then Deacon Rudy did the homily, and he's reading, doing the preaching to us. And it was about be humble yourself before God. And, the whole be humble. Mitch knows it. I mean, and I just feel something glaring at me. I turned and I looked, I said, what? She said, this entire Mass was about you. And I tried to be humble, but it's hard whenever there's things that haven't been done, and then you stay on it enough until it gets done.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it. I'm just a messenger. We don't get to say, we don't get to dig, we don't get to put new pipes in. But if you talk to the drainage board and you talk to the DPW director, they're going to get it done. I had 267 open work orders in my district 2 Mondays ago. That's how many were open and hadn't been and every time it rains hard, we'll get 75 or 80 in 2 or 3 days. And the little girl, she probably wore her fingers completely out on them keyboards, putting them in. But every day I get work order completed, work order completed, work order completed. I talked to my road supervisor, Junior. Junior called me, he goes, oh, Mr. Scooter, man, we working. I said, yeah, you are. I said, you still 200 behind? He said, we went from 267 to 109 in 8 days. I said, oh, man, that's impressive. He goes, I've been having to do a lot of them myself. Yeah. He says, leave the crew working and go over there and do that. I said, dude, look, you're not doing it for me. I appreciate it. You're doing it for the people. And that's what the council is, because I'm doing it for the people, not for me. I could go home in the evening and not get calls. Man told him on Facebook today, said, y'all leave that man alone. He was even out on Labor Day in a driving rainstorm because somebody called him and said that the road was flooded.
Humble, son, humble.
Oh, humble. See what I mean? But I didn't put it out there. Somebody else did. Somebody didn't even know put it on there. And I appreciated that because they'd been, I don't know, Facebook.
Right.
Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
But that's about all I know. I know we have a great council. We work well together. I looked at my push card from 4 years ago, and we changed it a little bit this time because I had no clue going in what the job entailed, all the appointments that I talked about you got to make, and all these different things. But the number one thing that I wanted to do is have unity in the council and the president, and we've done that.
Yeah. And
of course, for the first year, y'all just yes men. No, we in the background, we throwing chairs. No, but when you don't give the parish a black eye in public, you can discuss things very loudly out back, but when you get on that TV, we have to show unity, and we don't always. You see us, we get more and more split votes because things are that drastic between some districts. You know, more rural, more urban. You know, different things. But I think the unity of the council and the way we work through things now, and with Jeff Ard said it best a few weeks ago, or a few months ago. He said, we lost almost 2 years of being councilmen because of the March flood and then the August flood. And then we were in just recovery mode. Y'all don't send in work orders, don't try and spend any money. We don't know if it's coming in. So it was a full 2 years. And then we finally started doing the work. And it's been very rewarding. The parish president and all of his people have been fantastic. We talk to them. We go to their office. We go see them. If there's something we need to do, we make it happen. And I think if nothing else, I just appreciate those other 8 guys.
Sure.
You know, and our council staff, the ladies in the council office, I'll call them and go, hey, look, I need an ordinance. What does it need to say? I said, I don't know, it needs to say such and such, and just kind of shout something out, and then an hour or two later, here it comes on my phone. Well, this is what it should say. We'll pass it by legal and make sure it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. And that's about it. I just hope that I get reelected because we have a lot to do in the next 4 years.
Great. Well, perfect. Well, yeah, that about wraps it up for me.
Okay.
I'll let you go.
Appreciate
and
it.
talk to some folks. Thanks for coming and have coffee.
All
with us.
right.
We appreciate it.